We're betraying British people. It's totally unacceptable. On the small boats, we don't know anything about these people. We know nothing about them. Only 1 in 10 are women, by the way. So the notion that we're just going to grant them all asylum now, I don't think that's a particularly fair statistic. And they're coming from France. The notion that they're fleeing political persecution, if that's the case, we should put...
The face of that Guardian columnist is priceless. This video is the Reform chairman, Zia Youssef, absolutely schooling a full panel of Liberals. This lady is a Labour MP and a complete joke. Both of these two are a waste of time arguing over illegal immigration when neither of them ever did or ever will do anything about it. She bans on about how Labour is doing a great job smashing the GANs. Tragically, another baby died today in an attempted channel crossing. Youssef points out, why is the number of illegal crossings on the rise if smashing the GANs is going so well? She's talking complete nonsense, and it makes for painful viewing. And for a Labour MP to say Reform suggesting we leave the ECHR is a gimmick is, well, what can I say, completely laughable. Does anyone seriously believe that a government whose first policy was to change illegal immigration to irregular migration intends to do anything about it? The number of crossings are up because this government, like the last one, gives them a massive incentive to cross the English Channel. As Zia Youssef says, they arrive and immediately get put before the British people and they get everything for free. This poor homeless guy was told that to his face by his local council.
I've been homeless for a lot of years now. It's a hard battle with the local borough council, let's say that. An individual, a lady in the council said to me 3 things, and I'll take it to the grave. You're not from a war-torn country, you're not fleeing domestic abuse, you don't have any dependent children, you are not a priority. We know you've got health problems, but that doesn't make you a priority. Now, to say things like that, I just think there's something wrong with society. How you get treated as a British citizen, you know, someone in need. I've been in there crying, and I'd openly admitted, you know, that, and I have, pleading for help. You're not a priority.
That was so sad to listen to. Reform are the only ones who talk sense. It's rightly pointed out we need to leave the ECHR because we shouldn't have a foreign court dictating to us that foreigners come before the British people. The Guardian lady didn't like hearing that one and finally pipes up with, "It's not a foreign court." I'll let you hear for yourself Zia Youssef's brilliant reply to that one. He then says we should turn the boats back, and the host replies in a disapproving voice, that would be illegal to turn the boats back to France. But Youssef has a brilliant comeback to that one as well. I am not sure if it is against maritime law or not, but even if it is, so what? It's time to overrule it with our own laws, our country, our borders, and it is for us to decide who comes here. We can't have a situation where millions of people we know nothing about are free to pile into the country and we're just told, tough, there is nothing you can do about it. Anyway, here is the full segment. Zia Youssef was brilliant once again. And don't forget to vote Reform, folks.
And in 14 weeks, we have got returns up by 25%. During your government, they went down by 40%.
Enforced returns
We're
were up
no
by
longer
70%.
paying people to go on holiday to Rwanda.
How many people were in that enforced return?
We have had 3,000 people leave so far. We've had 12 flights in 2 months.
Do you know how many people have arrived illegally across the Channel since your government took power?
We have we are smashing those criminal gangs.
Well, there's been a spike. Hang on, don't all talk over each other.
We're delivering.
14,000 people have arrived in that time, so it's not working. The reality is the boats are going to continue coming because we have essentially said Britain is a soft touch. If you come here, you get a free mobile phone, you get a SIM card, you get put up in hotels.
Where did you get a free mobile phone from?
Go and look at what's happening on the ground.
But Zia, were you a supporter of the Rwanda plan?
What we need to do
is actually
just
first of all, were you a supporter? Right, so you didn't think the Rwanda plan was
Because
doable?
it was instead of having the courage to say we need to leave the ECHR, replace it with a British Bill of Rights, and then ask our Navy to conduct a humanitarian mission, to turn back boats that come, and then announce through legislation that nobody who arrives here illegally will ever be granted asylum. If you take those steps, the boats would stop coming almost immediately.
But hang on, that was the policy of the Conservatives, to have a plan, Rwanda, to process applications, not only process them, but process them for people who came across on small boats to then be deported to Rwanda to stay there if their applications were successful. It's gone. The Refugee Council says there have been savings of £250 million. And on pushbacks, they are deemed illegal. BBC Verify looked at this very carefully, and according to the United Nations Conventions on the Law of the Sea, External and the International Convention on Maritime Search and Rescue, states are allowed to pick people up from boats if they are found at sea in danger of being lost, but not to return them to another country without France, in this case, agreeing. Do you accept that?
No, we completely disagree with that.
But that is the law.
It isn't. And in fact, that very BBC Verify article claimed that Richard Tice was the chairman of Reform, which came as a surprise to me. So obviously there's some verifying that needs to go on with that team.
But we can argue, but hang on. We can argue about the legal case. You can say you don't believe it, but that is the maritime law as it stands. And unless there is an agreement with France, then the maritime organisation here cannot turn boats round and take them back to France.
You are aware that a boat was turned around and taken back to France successfully. Just
doesn't mean it was legal.
Well, look, the reality is people cite international law specifically when they're trying to subvert the interests of the native population of the United Kingdom in service of foreign citizens. That's when they cite it. What we need is a government that is willing to stand up for British people.
We've got
no foreign court should ever be able to subvert.
All right.
We were prime movers in establishing that international law. Out of human rights, out of a sense of international law, we were at the centre of it. So the idea
Last
that
I checked, Strasbourg was not in the United Kingdom.
Leaving the EAC is just another gimmick. That's what it is. Under the last Labour government, returns were up 40% on the Conservative government. Instead, we're in and absolutely delivering. We're not talking about more gimmicks. People want to see action. We've got 100 specialist investigators making sure that people are where they should be. We're no longer spending £8 million.
Let's see a respond, and then I'll come to you, Matt.
Crossings up 50% in the 100 days since Labour took power. 50% more people have made the journey illegally than the last 100 days of the Tory government. Why has that happened?
We have to keep delivering. That's what we need to see. That's the real deterrent. Rwanda was never the deterrent. The deterrent will be those planes taking off, the Border Security Command in action, smashing the gangs. We are delivering now. We are going to keep delivering. We are going to keep shouting about it. And that is how we tackle immigration, not with leaving the ACH.
With respect, you didn't answer my question. Why are the numbers up 50%?
This is the legacy of the Conservative government. They knew that they weren't going to go to Rwanda, and if they were going, they were probably going to be paid to go.
There usually are, of course, spikes over the summer months. It's very difficult to know why they happen or not. But let's go back to the question of the asylum backlog, because it has had a consequence, Natalie. And although the government is going through that backlog much more swiftly and efficiently, it does mean that people are now refugees, possibly up to 62,000 by the end of the year, and they have nowhere to live.
Mm-hmm. So what wasn't OK, was never OK, was £8 million every single day on hotels.
And you're now looking for more hotels to do it again?
We are now processing them. We initially thought that we could do it in 12 months. We committed to ending hotel use in 12 months. Lo and behold, we get in. And it's another area where it's worse than we thought. It's going to take a little bit longer than 12 months, but we are absolutely putting things in process so that this is a real change that is happening. It's not gimmicks, it's delivery.
Those numbers are published on government websites on a regular basis, so I don't see how that's remotely credible. So not only do we have new tenders, specifically the number of illegal crossings, for example.
Oh, right, but I want to start. It's about, and I'm talking broadly, 45,000 on small boats and up to 745,000 at one point of legal net migration, which the government set up and sanctioned.
Both of those numbers are a disaster. Both of those numbers are far too high, and they're different problems. Look, the legal migration number, 1.8 million net new people in the last 3 years. 600,000 new homes were built in the United Kingdom in that time, which is some going for us. It's as good as we've done in decades. So we're We're building 1/3 as many new homes as we need in this country just to satiate the demand from new people coming, while housing prices are at totally unaffordable levels. We're betraying British people. It's totally unacceptable. On the small boats, we don't know anything about these people. We know nothing about them. Only 1 in 10 are women, by the way, so the notion that we're just going to grant them all asylum now, I don't think that's a particularly fair statistic. And they're coming from France. The notion that they're fleeing political persecution, if that's the case, we should put sanctions on Macron. If he is persecuting political prisoners in France, obviously that's absurd on its
Although, Zia, of
face.
course, as you know,